Welcome to the show and welcome winter back, I guess, just as Thanksgiving is starting here in our area in South Bend, the Michiana area. The cold wind has been blowing stuff in all day, and as I was driving in just a little bit ago to the station here at Sports Radio WSBT, the snow was coming down, little flurries all around, and I don't think it's quite as cold out in Las Vegas. Notre Dame men's basketball was very cold in the first half. They were down by at least 20.
22.
I saw 22 is what it was. And Jesse got into town last night for Thanksgiving, and he was doing some work from my house this morning and taking a break. And we were watching the first half of the Notre Dame men against Houston. And it was like, what is going on here? And he kept kind of like screaming, why is Marcus Burton not involved in the offense? And they were, as you said, down by 22. But I just checked in, and they pulled within 4. They're only down by 6 right now, and there's still 10 minutes to go in the game. So things are looking up, and lo and behold, Marcus Burton has 14 points. Go figure. He's part of the offense, and they're back in the game.
Well, he is the offense, but the new kid, Harrelson, is doing some work here as well. Like, they finally have 2 guys that are willing to take the ball to the rim, which –
well, and that was part of the problem early in the game. I don't know how much you've been watching, but early in the game, they were not taking the ball to the rim, and they were settling for a lot of 3-pointers, a lot of long jump shots, and it was not working.
Right.
And then right as I was leaving, Jesse was like, "They're taking it to the rim and they're scoring now." And so I think that's what you've got. So yeah,
it's actually fun to watch. This team when they want to play, it's fun to watch. Like I said, they're down 6 with the basketball. So, we'll see how this thing goes.
53-46 is what the live 54-46. Now they're down by 8 again. Hopefully
got fouled.
Yeah. Houston's a good team, ranked 3rd in the nation, but they got beat by Tennessee last night.
No, they're a great team. I'm watching the game with my father-in-law. And he's like, what's happening? I'm like, this is the number 3 team in the country.
Yeah. They're not playing chopped liver. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And look, they don't have to win this game to really kind of tell us something about this team. I think that, competing and getting close and just being competitive in the latter part of the second half, that's huge for this team.
To rally from 22 down to get to within 4 is big in itself. So, like, even if they hang in there with Houston, because again, Houston is a very good basketball team. I don't know how good my Jayhawks are. They lost to the Jayhawks the other day. They had a decent showing. They hung with them. I think we'll find out more about Kansas tonight, because I think they tip off with Tennessee. I don't know if it's actually considered the championship game or what it is.
No, pretty much
teams
is.
But it's Kansas and Tennessee, a couple teams that have won their first 2 games. I think we'll find out a little bit about both of those teams.
Well, they're playing for a diamond-encrusted basketball, so, it's a big deal.
I thought you were going to say a diamond-encrusted DeDario there for a second.
Well, that would be interesting and a lot more expensive than a basketball, but,
Yes. It's one of our favorite days on the show. It's Mailbag Day. It's also the day before Thanksgiving, which I kind of feel like needs a name. Like, the day after is Black Friday. The day before Christmas is Christmas Eve. It feels like the day before Thanksgiving needs a name, doesn't it?
It's the biggest bar night of the year, according to Randall McMurphy. And
that is true. When the young ones come back to town, it's a big bar night.
It is a big bar night for those of age. So yeah.
Randall, by the way, says he's confused because how can you have a midweek mailbag on a Friday? Well, it's not Friday for us. Not Friday for everybody.
No, not at all. It was Friday for me yesterday, but still have this job. So there's no such thing as a Friday. We do most of our work on the weekends too. So
that's very true. Like, what really is a Friday?
What's a Friday?
Right down to it during football season, especially. And we've got football coming up this Saturday as the Fighting Irish close the regular season, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, Saturday night. The radio call right here on Sports Radio WSBT. If you're drinking your double espresso shots Saturday night, staying up, watching the Irish and the Cardinal, the game day show from 6 to 9:30 Eastern time. And of course, again, that is PM. That is not AM. Jim, Eric, and Tyler will be with you from 6 to 9:30. Guest this week, Jimmy Clausen, longtime NFL kicker John Carney, and former contentious Notre Dame All-American linebacker Corey Minor. That's quite a lineup that they've got. So tune in for the game day show, 6 to 9:30 this Saturday night before that 10:30 p.m. kickoff. Vince.
And there will also be a live watch party on Irish Breakdown YouTube channel. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. We're going to go on the air about 10 o'clock, do a little pregame show action, and then jump right into it. And we'll just watch the game with everybody, basically. And then we'll sew in the post-game show and whatever that looks like so that we're not all up until 4 o'clock in the morning. Stymie
is apparently just checking in the YouTube because we were just talking about Notre Dame men's basketball. Houston right now is in the midst of an 8-0 run and lead 58-46. Notre Dame was down by 22 points in the first half. When I pulled up the live stats, they were within 4, and now they're down by 12 again. So the run is going the other way. Notre Dame in the midst of a scoring drought that has lasted about 2.5 minutes. So that game, by the way, is over on 94.3 FM here in town because we had Notre Dame. It's a busy day. We had Notre Dame hockey. They snapped a little losing skid. Irish hockey did against Merrimack earlier today. They won just a few minutes ago, wrapping things up, and we had that game here on Sports Radio WSBT. So
I was actually wondering how we're on the air at the same time as a basketball game, but you just answered my question, so thank you.
Yeah. They moved it around so that we could bring this this little window of 2-hour entertainment to the world is what it was.
Your welcome, world, is all I have to say to that.
You're welcome to each of you. It's Mailbag Day, so if you're jumping in the YouTube chat, get your questions in. We've got a few that were submitted earlier in the day on the Irish Breakdown Champions Lounge. I don't know. This is not a mailbag question, but we can just talk right off the top about the relevant topic of the day, the college football playoff rankings. I don't think anyone here was too surprised. I am just amazed at the continued theatrics that follow this faux shock that everybody has. The last 3 weeks now, Notre Dame being ahead of Miami. I am just tired of it. And I'm tired of Reese Davis with his, it's like we have no other storyline. So I'm going to beat this to death and I'm going to act like the most agitated guy in the world. And Booger McFarland, they're all inflamed that Notre Dame remains ahead of Miami. I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for you. Michael Irvin, I don't feel sorry for you. Loved you as a Cowboy, obviously, but I don't care. Like, it's just, you've got to stop being outraged every week. Why do you why does all these people on that side act like they're so surprised when the committee has been very consistent every week with how they're ranking this thing, Vince?
I mean, look, they have made it very clear how they feel about Notre Dame and Miami. And head-to-head, okay, is one thing. That's great. But that's not the only thing. And Joey Galloway said it perfectly yesterday on the show. He's like, okay, I'll give it to you, Booger, that Notre Dame was not the better team week 2 of the season. He goes, right. They are now.
Right.
And that's, both things can be true. And that's the thing. Like, just blindly looking at it as, well, Miami won the head-to-head, so they should automatically be ahead. It's ridiculous. That's just a ridiculous argument. It's a lazy argument. It is not one that actually shows me that you're watching any other football games other than the Notre Dame Miami, because Booger McFarland was like, well, I'll just watch the tape. I'll just watch the tape. They won on the field.
Right.
That's
watch
part of
the
it.
Tape of a game that happened 3 months ago. And we talked about this the other day. It's like, I realize it's a little bit of apples to oranges when you're talking NFL and college, because you don't see a lot of rematches in college. But in the NFL, if you're in the same division, you're going to play, your division opponents twice a year. There's a rematch all the time. And here's a shocker. Many times those teams split, like I was talking about, the Cowboys and the Eagles opened up the NFL season a week after Notre Dame and Miami, or was it even a week after? But, right around the same time, the Eagles won that game in Philadelphia. They played in Dallas, Arlington. the other night,
Right.
and the Cowboys won the rematch. Like, you can be a different team, and many teams are different teams weeks and months later. I'm sorry. Like, when Miami was busy losing 2 out of 3 games to 2 unranked teams, Louisville and SMU, they showed that they were a different team. Carson Beck showed that he was a different quarterback at that point. It's like, yes, head-to-head is a data point. It is not the only data point. You still have to trust what you think about what the team is right now. And this is not the first time this has happened, by the way. Like, I am amazed that it's only been 4 years. I've brought this up before. It has only been 4 years. 4 years ago, Michigan and Michigan State played at the end of October. They were both undefeated teams at the end of October in the regular season. Michigan State won the head-to-head. And so as a result, rankings came out the next week. Michigan State was ranked ahead of Michigan. Well, the following week, 1 week after beating Michigan, Michigan State turns around and loses to Purdue. So college football playoff rankings come out the next week. The playoff committee ranked Michigan ahead of Michigan State in spite of the fact that Michigan State had the head-to-head win just a week and a half before that. And as it turned out, the playoff committee was right, because Michigan State went on a couple weeks later. They got drubbed by Ohio State. Michigan ended up beating Ohio State at the end of the season, got to the college football playoff. This is not the first time this has happened, where the committee has disregarded a head-to-head because they're watching the team on the field and they said Team A is still better than Team B, even though Team B had the win over Team A. It happened just 4 years ago, and none of these people on ESPN are talking about it. Like, are they completely impervious to the fact that it actually happened, oblivious to the fact that it actually happened? It happened just 4 years ago. This is not the first time a college football playoff committee has done something like this. And I'm sick of hearing all this blabber and overreaction from everybody. Miami fans, I get it, because they want their team in the playoff. I get it there. But like these media guys, Reese Davis and Booger and all these others, I don't get why they're going down this road, because it happened just 4 years ago and they all act like it never happened.
And you don't have to remind Notre Dame fans what happened in 1993 either.
Right. Same, but different. But
I know, but I'm just saying,
it wasn't a committee. Yeah.
It's a head-to-head situation, and the country decided that Florida State was going to be ranked higher than Notre Dame. Not just a committee. Like, all the AP voters were like, yep. Well, not all, but the majority of the AP voters were like, no, we're going to give it to Florida State, even though we saw the product on the field. Notre Dame beat Florida State.
Right.
But they had a worse loss. Notre Dame had a worse loss than Florida State did. I mean,
I know.
What else do you, so again, there are plenty of head-to-heads that have not been the be-all, end-all. And there's a million different examples, that we can give. And
again, Vince, this was just 4 years ago in the same system where the college football playoff committee is ranking the teams and picking who gets to make the field. It just happened 4 years ago, but none of these people have even mentioned it. The fact that that there is precedent for what the committee is doing. That's what I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, is Reese Davis so Mike Greenberg Jr. caught up and prisoner of the moment that he can't even remember what happened 4 years ago?
Absolutely. 100%.
He was doing the same shows. I don't get it.
And
it just,
and here's the thing. Like, why isn't Miami upset about BYU or Alabama? Because right now, those are the two teams that are keeping Miami out of the playoff. Not Notre Dame.
Because they don't have a head-to-head win over them.
Right. But stop focusing on Miami. Stop focusing on Notre Dame. That's not going to get you anywhere, because everybody was waiting for this mythical time, which now became reality, when Notre Dame was going to be compared directly to Miami. That happened last night. They were directly compared to Miami, and the committee said, yeah, they're comparable now, and Notre Dame is the better football team.
Still the better team.
On November 25th.
Right.
They're the better team. Don't go and lose to two unranked opponents. That's on you, Miami. I'm sorry. Don't lose to SMU. Don't lose to Louisville.
You lost to two teams that you were supposed to be better than, and that's
you were ranked higher, you were
right.
favored, all the things, and you
that's
lost those games.
Again, that is why head-to-head is not the only thing, because those other teams also have head-to-heads with Miami, right? And look at their conference and where they stand. You know, we've talked about this before. Miami isn't even one of the top 3 teams in their own conference.
They're not even going to make their conference championship.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm telling you right now.
They might have the better pool of talent on that roster, which I fully believe they do. But as a team, they didn't perform when they needed to. And that's why they're being kept out of the playoff field right now.
You know who else has a really talented team? Penn State. They don't belong in the playoff either.
Exactly.
You know, like I still, and I said that, I don't remember if I said it on this show or if I said it on another show. It all kind of blurs. But my hope and prayer. Well, first of all, the first hope and prayer is that Pitt just beats Miami and this all goes away. Number one. Number two, I think it would be just absolutely fantastic if Miami ended in the 11 hole, the 11 slot, and then gets bumped by the ACC champion. Like, that would be some just desserts right there. You get bumped by a team in your own conference because you couldn't make the conference championship. Like, that would be just beautiful. That's what I want. And then third, I want to play them in Miami in the playoff. Like, that's the ranking of the way I want things to go.
Yeah, exactly. So, Andre in the mailbag says, I continue to enjoy all of the noise surrounding Miami and Notre Dame, especially when this rule is for the SEC. It's not Notre Dame's fault that they're taking advantage of it.
Which rule is that?
I'm not sure.
Sorry. I enjoy all the Miami noise as well because it's ridiculous. So they can complain all they want, and it's easy.
I don't enjoy it because it's just overwhelmed everything. One, surrounding, you know, the playoff rankings, right. And two, you know, like I realize Twitter is Twitter, but I go there, you know, like to try to, you know, like what else is going on, and it's like the whole Twitter timeline just becomes just swarmed by this Notre Dame Miami conversation. You can't get away from it, and it's weeks on end now.
I know
at this point where it's just there.
Yep, and you know, we could dive into why Notre Dame deserves to be ranked ahead of Oklahoma. To be honest with you, Oklahoma's not a great football team. They're averaging like 18 points a game right now.
Right. Like if you look at overall full team metrics, like Oklahoma's got a great defense, and I've seen some comparisons like to Notre Dame's 2012 team, for example. Sure. Great defense, but that offense is really average. Man. And like not probably below average, honestly. And
I would be very okay if everything shook out the way it is right now and Notre Dame had to go on the road in Norman. I'd be okay with that. I really would. Because Oklahoma doesn't scare me as a team. So, you know, we'll see what happens. There's going to be, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of movement, you know, between this ranking and the next ranking. I think probably most will go chalk here in the next weekend. But then when they do the conference championships, we'll still be talking about the same teams, but I do think they're going to get jostled around from a ranking standpoint. And so we're going to see some different matchups and things like that, depending on how championship week goes.
Once the conference champion, yeah.
Right. It'll be the same teams. Like I said, they're not necessarily going to drop somebody out or
the matchup. You know, the rankings are going to change just enough that, some of the, like you could see some jostling in there.
Right. Yep.
Who's Oklahoma play this weekend, by the way?
They play LSU.
LSU, that's right.
That's right. Home. The same LSU team that won by 3 over Western Kentucky a few days ago. So, you know, the biggest thing to come out of that game was Kensal Kelly and his BK T-shirt.
Yes, that was it's very interesting.
Why would you not go to your own kids' senior day?
Supposedly, according to Kensal, it was LSU's administration that didn't want BK there. That's why he kept like free BK and all that stuff with the T-shirt. So
dumb.
I thought the same thing, but that's what, that's that side of the story.
Well, and again,
didn't want him there.
Take the word of Kensal Kelly, I suppose, if you want.
Right. Right.
It's, he's a parent of somebody on the team.
Well, look, he's his son. Yeah. I mean, he's BK's son. You would expect him to stick up for his dad. I mean, he's on the LSU team because of the fact that he's BK's son.
100%.
And I fully realize like Twitter stuff that Kensal has done before.
Oh, yeah. He was on the Grand Valley State team because of who his dad is.
Right.
So,
True.
there's that.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll jump into some mailbag stuff, Notre Dame football talk, and more with Vince DeDario, Sean Stires. It is the day before Thanksgiving. And if you're out traveling, about safe travels to you, and enjoy your holiday tomorrow. But we'll be back with more Notre Dame football mailbag right after this. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We continue the mailbag, irishbreakdown.com, Notre Dame. But what am I trying to say here? Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with irishbreakdown.com. Words just started coming out of my mouth, Vince. It's a good thing I don't have Tourette's. I might have said something.
My wife accuses me of just random stuff coming out of my mouth all the time. So it works.
I don't know about random, but.
Well, random to her,
Yeah.
It's all good.
Scott in the mailbag, do you agree that this Notre Dame team has at times shown a lack of fire/urgency in third and fourth and short yardage? If so, could Marcus Freeman's tendency to go for it on fourth and short create a lack of urgency on third and short?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they were not very successful in short yardage earlier in the season. I think they've kind of gotten that figured out to a degree at this point. Even though they haven't really been pressed, defensively in a while. But no, I don't think one has anything to do with the other.
Yeah, to me, their issues have more to do, Marcus Freeman and Mike Denbrock might say execution, but I don't agree with a lot of the play calling and what they're doing in those situations, and I think that could handle a lot of it, because like I think I kind of see what you're saying, because it's like, well, we're going to go for it on fourth if we don't make it on third.
I just don't think that's how players think. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
it's more maybe coaching.
Like, we don't get it here. It is what it is. I
don't look at Jeremiah Love. He literally wants to take the ball to the end zone every time he touches
correct.
it.
Right.
So, yeah. From Irish English, which conference is better this year, the Big 12 or the ACC?
Ooh, man.
Top to bottom, I don't think either one is great, but if I'm taking the best teams at the top, like when you look at the Big 12, for example, Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, BYU, I am, still
I'm still a little sketchy about them as well. I think, we'll see what they do against Texas Tech in the championship game, but if it's more of the same.
Right. But if I were taking those three teams against Virginia, Pitt, and SMU right now, I would probably pick the Big 12.
You're not taking Miami, Sean? You blaspheme.
They're in fifth place in their own conference. So
I know.
Again, I tend to think, and I've mentioned this before because there was an article that I read a few weeks back. It was before all these ACC teams started losing about, look at the ACC. They've got all these teams in the rankings, and look at Virginia and what they've done, and Georgia Tech and what they've done, and all this different stuff. And, the whole gist of the article was, these programs have invested their money, in these football programs, these schools have, and look at what they're doing. And my whole thought was, you've got these overexpanded conferences, and in the ACC, just like these other conferences, not everybody plays each other. And, look at the top of the ACC rankings. Most of these top teams have not played each other. So, that's why you had at that point 0 losses, and now a bunch of 1-loss teams, because the best teams aren't playing each other in the regular season. So I think it's more a little bit smoke and mirrors than anything. They've got nice records, but because the conference is so big, they're not playing each other. And that goes for Miami too. Like, Miami's got these 2 losses, and they haven't even played the most of the teams that are in front of them in the conference standings. Like, they haven't even really been challenged that much in the ACC, but they've still got 2 conference losses, and they're behind all these other teams.
Yeah, I would say
so.
The big,
top heavy, I'd take the Big 12 over the ACC just in terms of the teams at the top of the conference.
Yes, the Big 12 is top heavy, no doubt about it. I would say after those 3 Big 12 teams, there's a pretty large drop off. When it comes to Big 12 teams, and that. So, are we looking at the entirety of the conference? Because that would make it a little bit closer, I would say. But I mean, you got Texas Tech, BYU, Utah. Then you've got Arizona State that is ranked 20th. But then Houston, Arizona, Cincinnati, Iowa State. Like, there's a lot of mediocre teams in the Big 12, right? Yeah. I mean, a lot of mediocre teams. But I think the Big 12 has better football teams overall. So I would take the Big 12 in this particular argument. But if you really wanted to take a deep dive, you're looking at a lot of pillow fights at the bottom half of the Big 12 versus the bottom half of the ACC.
I think so too. By the way, when I was ranting about Miami in the college football playoffs time, he said, I feel a Festivus rant coming on.
Just wait.
Gearing up.
Soon.
Gearing up. It
Soon.
won't be long.
What is Festivus? Because I want to make sure I'm here for it.
23rd. The 23rd.
Okay. I might have to peel myself off the couch for that one.
Yeah, and we've got to we haven't really addressed what any of us are doing. I know you've got, some things coming up in December, but that's obviously right before Christmas Eve and Christmas and all that kind of stuff. We've got to figure out what the schedule looks like.
For the rest.
I don't think we had a Festivus last year because it was on the weekend.
Was it really? Okay.
I think so.
Festivus.
A Festivus show. We didn't do a Festivus show.
Right.
So we've got to air our grievances. I mean, it's only right.
So. I got plenty of them right now. For sure.
I think I need to see if I can find an aluminum pole for the background.
Yeah, that'd be great. Put it right back here. Yeah. Good call.
Robert says, does any team scare you guys? I don't think Notre Dame has to say, oh, I don't want to play that team.
You know what? That's a really good question. I think Georgia is better than they were last year. I think they'd be a dangerous team in the playoff. I think that, Ohio State's the champ until they're not. So, Notre Dame has, people say that Kirby Smart has an Alabama problem. Notre Dame has an Ohio State problem right now. And so I'm not saying I'm scared of Ohio State, but they're a really good football team. So I want to play Ohio State. I think Notre Dame can beat Ohio State, but they're the champs until they're not. So, and then I use a really good football team. Let's be honest. I use a good football team. They're undefeated. They got a lot of pieces. And so I'm not scared of anybody because that's just not how I operate from a athletic standpoint. But there's some really good football teams out there that would make for very, very good games.
I think so too. I think that there would be a lot of very evenly matched games. So no, none of them, there's not one dominant team. And I think that that's part of what's great about a 12-team playoff is I think we should see some very competitive playoff games this year. So
I think the matchups this year could be better than the matchups that we had last year. You know what I mean? So
John says Miami. I don't know if that's Pittsburgh sarcasm or what that is.
Come on, John.
We talked about this yesterday. I would love to see a Notre Dame Miami rematch in the playoffs. I'd like to actually just see them settle it on the field. Who actually is the better team right now?
A lot of people are angling for a 7-10 matchup, so Miami has to come up to Notre Dame in December. I'd be okay with that.
That'd be beautiful.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I'm really curious to see how Miami responds to that weather in Pittsburgh this weekend.
Oh, this is going to be a very interesting game. That game's at noon. We're going to find out real quick how that game is going to go because it's supposed to be about 32 degrees right at noon. It's going to be interesting.
I think so as well. Scott says, isn't it part of Notre Dame's college football playoff deal a promise that Notre Dame is automatically part of the playoffs that they are ranked in the top 12? That is not.
No.
I can't remember if there was last year. I know for certain that when they redid this thing with the straight seeding that it is not part of the deal.
Right. So
they're now eligible for a bye.
Yeah, I saw this question, and so I looked it up, and I looked up the parameters when they made this new agreement, and there's nothing about it. I think what you're thinking about, Scott, is back when they had the BCS games and things like that. If Notre Dame was ranked in a certain spot, they were guaranteed a BCS game.
Being a BCS bowl.
That's not the case anymore. They get a certain amount of money, whether they're in the playoff or not, just like the conferences get a certain amount of money, whether they're in the playoff or not. And then they get more money if they are in the playoff and they continue to move forward. So it was more of a financial agreement than it was a guaranteed spot agreement.
Darvis has a couple important questions. One, what's on the Thanksgiving menu this year? Two, your favorite Thanksgiving tradition that your family has. Do you have any traditions that your family does for Thanksgiving?
I got to be careful here because I would say most of the traditions are probably negative and would get me in trouble. Because there's certain things, when the family gets together.
So are there feats of strength on Thanksgiving? Is that what you're saying?
You can guarantee certain things are going to go wrong, and they do every year. So that feels like more of a tradition than anything else in my house. We don't really have straight up traditions that we don't go around the table and say what we're thankful for, anything like that.
You're DeDarios. You're thankful for nothing.
That's correct. We just exist. Okay, we just exist. Do you have any traditions that you guys abide by every year?
I mean, our only tradition is we watch the Cowboys. Literally, that's it.
And we watch the Lions, so there you
Yeah.
go. Like that's
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
been my tradition for
we watch
20
the
plus
Cowboys
years.
and eat our food. And, and obviously in recent years and sporadically over the years because of my job, like last year I was in an island location and like, I was in the Gulf of Mexico swimming,
Good point.
of the Cayman Islands last year, and the Bahamas a couple of years ago. It's it's not a bad gig.
No,
But my point is, it kind of takes you away from some of the traditions, and like
Sure.
even like that's really kind of always been it because like we've lived here in South Bend for 25 years, and our family gatherings, like for a lot of families, probably especially maybe not even you don't even have to live close to each other, but Thanksgiving is like the big family gathering. But for ours, it's kind of always been Christmas has been
yeah, sure.
like where we do a lot of that stuff. So like I remember there have been times where we've like gone back to Kansas for Thanksgiving, and one of the last ones I remember is it's like, okay, the Cowboys were playing and we're in somebody else's house, so I have zero say over the television. And guess what? That Thanksgiving, Kansas basketball happened to be playing, like in one of the holiday tournaments. And so, because we're in Kansas, the whole family wants to watch Jayhawk basketball instead, which, it's like, okay, I'm an alum too. I like Kansas basketball, but between the two,
Yeah,
I've got the choice. It's Cowboys,
especially this early in the season for basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's November.
Yeah.
So really, that's really the biggest one, and that that's part of why Jesse came home. I think this weekend was so we can watch the Cowboys tomorrow and to eat his mom's cheesy potatoes.
Oh, cheesy potatoes, rock on with that.
Yeah.
I guess that leads us into the next part of the question, right? What's on your Thanksgiving menu? Cheesy potatoes, obviously something that's on the list.
Yes. I mean, I know we've got cheesy potatoes. We've got stuffing.
Nice.
We will have both turkey and ham. We do both. Big proteins. I know that there will be pumpkin rolls. My wife makes pumpkin rolls every year.
Nice.
I'm not sure what other there will be some alcoholic beverage that I went and bought the other day that Jesse and I will have for football. So
nice.
Yeah. I don't know what like the, like as we, you kind of expand out what the other side dishes and stuff like that. Because like I'm the only one who likes sweet potatoes, for example. Nobody else really likes them, but my wife usually makes it, like at least some small sweet potato type thing for me. So yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, we don't. We've cooked before, and we've done like the potluck style, that kind of a thing. Too many people have moved away where potluck doesn't work anymore,
right?
Because there's not enough people coming over,
right?
Like
we used to do that growing up.
Yeah,
whoever was hosting usually made the bird, and then everyone got some kind of side dish.
Yeah, so I would make the bird, and then everybody would bring all the other stuff. You know what I mean? We've pretty much at this point not thrown in the towel, but like we get the Bob Evans big meal that they offer. And then
nice.
It's really cool. Like I went and picked it up today, and then it like takes like 2 hours to prepare it. But like,
see, and we would do that too. Like when the kids were young, and like if we were here and we didn't have family coming in, we wouldn't do the Bob Evans thing. But like we would go down to the Round Barn, in Amish Acres. We would do that.
Yep, we've done that before.
Tip a canoe, like that. They've got a big Thanksgiving.
We've done that before as well. Yep. That's what we used to do when I was a kid. Actually,
the only thing we didn't like about that was we didn't, you don't have any leftovers if you go out, and we always like the leftovers for the rest of the weekend.
I get that too.
Yeah,
and we're in that weird transition now as the kids start to get a little bit older, and like, we're gonna have kids in college, and then kind of coming home, and then once they're done with college, what does that look like? Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting because we've always hosted, you know what I mean? So we're always kind of the nucleus or whatever. But as the kids get older, man, like now we've got girlfriends coming over, and we got, it's just I don't know. It's like a different season of life, I guess. I don't know. It's weird.
Deal, right?
Yeah. So
Randall wants to know what dish Naomi is making, and if I will divulge how horrible it is. Naomi, of course, is Jesse's
Blasphemy.
new wife. It's kind of odd, I know, but they decided he came here by himself. She went to a grandmother's.
Oh,
And so even though this is their first Thanksgiving as a married couple,
split.
they split
Wow.
just because I don't know exactly why. He hasn't given me like the exact reason. I still think it's a little bit odd, personally,
Yeah.
that they're doing it. But I think in part it's like, well, he knew that we were gonna, like I'm here, that I wasn't traveling with basketball, so he wanted to
Sure.
be here to watch football and eat his mom's cheesy potatoes. So
You know, I will say he's a lucky man because in pretty much any other marriage, he's on the road to grandma's house.
I thought so too.
You know what I mean? Like
I don't know
he,
exactly if he had to negotiate or barter
man,
any of that, but so
that's
it worked out.
okay. I
Yeah,
mean, good for him. I'm
I
sure
know.
he's gonna enjoy, that beverage and watching some football with his dad. I mean, that's a great opportunity, but I am shocked. I will say that.
I was shocked as well.
I would have been at grandma's house.
I
I'm
still,
sure.
I kept waiting for like, oh, this is gonna fall through. He's not really coming.
Right.
Naomi and the dogs are in one place, and Jesse.
He doesn't even have the dogs either.
But
Wow.
he's meeting up with her, I think, out there in Ohio on Saturday or something.
Still,
like that.
man. Touche to Jesse. I don't know how
I
he
know.
pulled that one off, but good for him.
I know. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more mailbag questions, Notre Dame football, and more. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues. Sean Stires, Vince DeDario, Notre Dame football mailbag day. Of course, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and we've got some Thanksgiving type questions. Josh wants to know how much that Bob Evans meal kit goes.
Ooh, great question. I didn't order it, so I'm not 100% sure. That was the wife's to-do list.
Do we still have a Bob Evans here in town?
It's over by Notre Dame on 331 on the the main drag there, 31 whatever. It's got like 17 names. Dixie Highway.
Oh, is there a Bob Evans over there?
It's just north of Douglas, like by the
like
toll road
Roseland?
entrance. Yeah.
Roseland, basically.
Yep.
Okay, because the one on Grape Road is now a Mexican restaurant.
That is correct.
That's the one we used to go to.
Yep, that is correct.
Bob wants to know the most overrated dish on the table for Thanksgiving.
Oh, by far, it's the green bean casserole. Gross.
Yes.
So
That's what my aunt always used to bring. My mom's sister would always bring the green bean casserole.
Oh, my goodness.
Year after year. And it's like you felt obligated to at least take a spoonful.
Nope.
Not you.
Nope. No obligations there, buddy. And the meal that we got comes with two things of green beans, side of green beans kind of a deal. And somebody that's coming over was like, I'll bring more green beans. I'm like, no, you're not bringing more green beans.
Stymie says the rolls. I think the rolls are like the most underrated aspect of Thanksgiving.
No doubt.
Like, once you're done, like I don't eat a roll the first time through, but once I'm done with like the first plate, then basically the rest of the weekend is all about the rolls and slapping food on there.
Rolls are great. I'm very curious about the pumpkin rolls that your wife makes. Apparently, those sound pretty good.
Have you ever had a pumpkin roll?
I've never had a pumpkin roll. There's a pumpkin loaf in this meal that we got, so I'm interested to have some of that. But
the pumpkin roll is basically like it's kind of like it's like a layer of. It would basically be like pumpkin bread that you lay out, and then I think she bakes it as like on the sheet, and then it's like this cream cheese and powdered sugar mixture that you spread out over the and then you roll it up, and it turns into like it's like a little swirled pumpkin and cream cheese mixture.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
I have to hook you up with some of that. I can't believe I've never given you any of those because both my mom and my mother-in-law make them all the time.
That sounds amazing.
They're my daughter's favorite.
Yeah, I can
imagine.
Well, Bailey and I have seen eye to eye on many, many things, and this is just yet another thing to add to the list.
Right.
Damn.
Domer Grizz says, has this season gone as fast for you as it has for me? Hard to believe it's the last regular season game already. What a blur. It has just gone. I can't believe, because usually like there's kind of a lull in the middle of the season, but I just feel like we never hit that lull. Like, and it is just, this is the fastest season I can remember.
This has been literally one of the fastest seasons I can remember. I think part of it is because I was juggling my kids' college season and then the Notre Dame season, and I'm sure you remember how that went back when Jesse was in college, trying to juggle both of those schedules and things like that. But it made it go by so fast. It feels like yesterday it was the middle of August and we were counting down the days of fall camp.
I know. Well, and we started this show. When we came over to Sports Radio WSBT here, I think we started like a week before training camp started.
Was it really? And
it's just like, boom, where's any of this time gone?
Man, no kidding. It feels like we just started doing it on the radio side of things.
I know.
That's wild. Yeah, it goes by really, 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 really fast. I can't believe that I'm not even going to be back at school until December. Like that part is like mind-blowing.
Outbound says, anyone consider Denbrock is setting up for the playoffs with some of the play calls, like his short yardage play calls are setting up something way bigger, like he's playing chess, not checkers. This is Jesse's theory. I don't know if you subscribe to it. Like he's basically hidden all the good stuff for all these, teams that they should beat, and he's saving the good stuff for the playoff run. What do you think, Vince?
I mean, I would love for that to be true. Obviously, I've never quite subscribed to the theory of teams holding back and, keeping, part of the playbook hidden until they play a big opponent, that kind of stuff. Look, Mike Denbrock's been around the block. I'm very, very, very confident that we have not seen the entire playbook, but I don't know if that's on purpose. That's my thing. I don't know that, like, with the struggles that Notre Dame has had in the red zone and with short yardage earlier in the season, like, I don't feel like he's holding things back and he's just like, oh no, we'll just continue to struggle. It's no big deal because we'll be fine, when it matters.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily buy that, but there's going to be stuff we haven't seen that we see.
So like maybe they're still not overloading CJ Carr kind of thing,
right.
more so that I could see that. For sure. BDE says more eyes or less eyes on Notre Dame with the 10:30 kick.
Way less. I don't see how there's going to be more. There's no way. The East Coast people will be that aren't diehard Notre Dame fans that would probably watch a 7:30
or start. Media types. I do still think the media types will be up.
I agree with that because they want to hammer Notre Dame, so they're going to look for any reason to do that. But I would say, and I'm talking about national media types. But I think there's going to be less. I think people are going to go to bed, especially considering Notre Dame's playing Stanford. Stanford's not good. The game's going to be essentially over by halftime, and people are going to call it. They're going to be like, yeah, I don't need to stay up any later. I'm going to bed.
See, I think you're a little bit more pessimistic about the media types. I think that they'll just be up because like it tends to be, I think especially the media guys, it's like they've covered the game that they're covering, and then they like this the old Pac-12 after dark,
sure,
at 10:30 p.m. Saturday night window. They're back at their hotels, or maybe they're even out at a bar, having a couple pops, and it's a standalone game. But that's still a very small fraction of the overall population. But I think like the media types tend to like that window because it gives them something to do, like while they're filing their story and like that whole kind of thing.
So, let me ask you a question. Because obviously we've covered night games before where, we've got the night game and then it gets over. Then we do a post-game show. We got to publish. We got to write stories, whatever the case may be that we do after games. I've had games on in the background for sure. Like 10:30 games. I've had those on in the background, as I'm doing something or as the post-game show is rolling or as I'm cutting up a podcast or whatever. Not really paying a whole lot of attention. And I'm definitely not waiting for the end of the game to go to bed. Like I'm out. Like as soon as I'm done with the work, thanks for the background noise, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But to your point,
are you guys doing a full post-game show as well?
We are going to do some sort of a post-game wrap-up. It will not be the 2 to 3 hour, version.
What people are used to.
And I can tell you right now, if the backups are in like start of the fourth quarter, that is when we're starting the.
I'm just going to be honest. Like I'm like I just thought about like, am I staying up and watching this whole thing? If it is a situation, even half of what the Syracuse game looked like.
I mean, once the game is no longer in doubt, like as soon as Kenny Minchie starts taking snaps, like that's when we roll over to the post game version. You know what I mean? Like that's how that's going to go.
BDE says, does J Love break the record this Saturday? My vote is yes. I think so.
You only need
roughly 130 yards at this point.
I think they'll keep him in until he does it too, to be honest with you.
I do too.
Yeah.
There's one. I want to get to this one question here that I definitely want to get to. There's a couple things that we're going to get to that were submitted on the boards that are going to come up in rapid fire. Okay, here it is. Real quick. Let's do this. When a school dives into a Heisman campaign, what does that actually look like? The public clearly sees highlight reels on social media, but is there more that goes on behind the scenes? Does a school like Notre Dame reach out to partners like NBC to help? And what should or could we expect as we ramp up towards Heisman voting season?
Well, you're not probably going to see a whole lot of anything, to be honest with you. I mean, Notre Dame will put out highlights and they'll do all of those things. They're going to put their stuff out to the media. Like we got an email the other day that has like the stats and the important bullet points of his career so far, his season thus far. And it had other guys on there as well for different awards. But, J Love was at the top since it's the Heisman. And then you pointed this out the other day, Sean. This was sitting at our spot in the press box. And it's this beautiful, card stock version of Jeremiah Love and a bunch of his stat highlights of the season.
Accomplishments and things that
Yeah.
he's done this year.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's something I've never seen at Notre Dame before. So that's something that they're doing. I mean, they don't have the apparel
This has
like they
been
did, but
like in comparison to Josh Adams a few years ago when they went, like 33 trucking and they made the 33 trucking hats and stuff like that. It's like they went in on this Heisman campaign. I just felt like the direction they went with it was the wrong way because they tried to make it. It's like it's not about the individual. It's like 33 trucking. They still tried to make it
about
like
the
a
team.
team campaign. And I think that is kind of the balance that Notre Dame has had because, like you said, they have definitely, like they had Jeremiah Love out doing interviews and things like that, but it wasn't like because it wasn't out front, with here's Jeremiah Love, the Heisman Trophy candidate, like that kind of thing. But it was still like Jeremiah Love, you're doing very, like it's
Right.
been more about that. And like you said, getting information out there to the media, but they haven't gone full out, full all in on Jeremiah Love, Heisman Trophy candidate, and here's why, and that kind of stuff. Now, I will be curious to see after what happened Saturday and the regular season is over,
Yep.
and you don't have to worry about kind of that balance between it needs to be about the team because like Marcus Freeman obviously. Like in the post game stuff, like immediately after the game, he shared a couple thoughts on Heisman type things. But like when I asked him questions in the press conference during the week, he obviously didn't want anything to do with Heisman Trophy conversations because he's still trying to keep it about the team, and about who they're playing on Saturday and that kind of thing. So like there's definitely been a balance, I think, with how they've handled it publicly anyway. But there's still, like you said, they're still getting the information that they feel like needs to get out there to the media to let them know, like what Jeremiah Love has done and that kind of thing.
Yep. I agree. And I think we'll definitely see a push after the Stanford game for sure. Because he could be the all-time leading rusher, at Notre Dame for a season, all of the different things. I think we'll see a bit of a push at that point. And that's all Notre Dame has to worry about for the next 2 weeks because they don't have a game to play.
Right. Get, like in this, you when to end the regular season.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you've got 2 weeks to go for a full blown, you can go on the Heisman attack at that point because you don't have to worry about keeping it about the team and not about an individual. They can really blow things up in terms of Heisman campaign and stuff.
And I think you'll see some team stuff, obviously, to try to maybe help their CFP ranking and all of those kinds of things. But you're going to see a lot of, I would imagine, Jeremiah Love as well.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break for the top of the hour. Rapid fire coming up in hour number 2. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We roll into hour number 2, and that can mean only one thing, Vince. It is rapid fire time. Are you ready?
Oh, let's roll, baby. You had this to me early today, I felt like.
What do you mean early?
Like, I think you send the stuff, and I feel like it came earlier than usual. I don't know.
Well, there's not, with Mailbag, there's not a first hour,
True. That's a good point. And earlier is relative because I didn't get up my normal time. So
right.
That also might be part of it as well.
Before we get into the regularly scheduled first question, we were just talking about Jeremiah Love and, Heisman and stuff like that, because, I mean, that's what we talk about here these days. And someone was asking how many yards he needs to catch Vegas Ferguson for the single season rushing record. Vegas Ferguson had 1,437 yards in 1979. Jeremiah Love, going into this game, has 1,306 net rushing yards. Of course, that's, take away the losses and all that. So he's sitting at 1,306. So he needs 132 yards to pass Vegas Ferguson going into the Stanford game.
Have that in the first half.
I know. Likely. Last week, Jesse and I, the question that we had was, with 2 games to go, how many quarters of football would it take? We weren't anticipating 171 yards in a short amount of time on 8 carries against Syracuse. So 132 seems very doable for Jeremiah Love going into this game.
Very doable. Very, very, very doable. I'm actually interested to see what FanDuel has for his number.
Does he get it by halftime, I think, is the question.
Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so rapid fire time. Let's get into these questions. Fill in the blank. It's blank that On3 college football reporter Ari Wasserman says, quote, "What the college football playoff committee is doing to Miami is the biggest injustice in the system's history." End quote. Vince DeDario, go.
Lazy. That's lazy. Like, that's a lazy take. And the only thing that is what was his exact words about what is it? The biggest injustice? The biggest injustice is for anybody that thought that Miami should have beaten Louisville or SMU. Like, win games you're supposed to win. And then we don't have this situation. I win one of those games and we don't have this situation. It's not an injustice. Play better. Don't lose 2 games in November.
Right.
Don't lose 2 out of 3.
What injustice is being carried out? I mean, it's part of your, like, by everyone's justification, should Florida State be in the college football playoff because they had a head-to-head win over Alabama?
It's like, lazy, man. It's just lazy.
Exactly. And, look, I mentioned this at the start of the show, but I feel like I've got to mention it again because it's only been 4 years since we had a similar situation with Michigan and Michigan State. Those 2 teams were undefeated at the end of October. They played at the end of October. Michigan State beat Michigan head-to-head. But then the following week, Michigan State turned around and lost to Purdue. And so at that point, both Michigan and Michigan State each had 1 loss. But the College Football Playoff Committee ranked Michigan ahead of Michigan State in spite of the fact that Michigan State just had a head-to-head win a week earlier. And, there was some outcry about that. Like, these 2 teams just played. How did this happen? Well, as it turned out, the playoff committee was right, because what they kept saying was, yeah, Michigan State had this head-to-head win 2 weeks ago, but we're watching these 2 teams right now, and we feel like Michigan is better. And it was only a week later. But then a couple weeks after that, Michigan State got their doors blown off by Ohio State. They lost like 56-7 or something like that. And then because Ohio State and Michigan play every year, Thanksgiving weekend at the end of the season, Michigan finished the regular season by beating Ohio State. The playoff committee was vindicated. Michigan went on to the college football playoff. So again, it's only been 4 years, and you had a head-to-head situation where the team that won the head-to-head was ranked behind the other team because that same team that won the first time, they went out and lost to another team. And that is exactly what has happened with Miami. Yes, Miami beat Notre Dame to begin the season, but then they lost 2 teams that they to two teams that they should have beaten. So let's not act like this kind of thing has never happened before. It happened only 4 years ago. And I'm tired of this whole Miami argument. You're not the better team right now. That's just like anyone who's watching these teams can see they're not the better team right now. Like Miami just played Syracuse a few weeks ago. Did they win a fairly comfortable game against Syracuse? Yeah, but Notre Dame, we all saw what Notre Dame did to Syracuse last week. They demolished that same Syracuse team. Notre Dame is playing better right now. End of story.
Well, and I mean, there are multiple not scenarios, but there's multiple examples just in the top 25 right now where there was head-to-head and a team that lost is ranked ahead. Like, I'm pretty sure USC beat Michigan. Am I wrong? Did I imagine that game happening?
You're right.
And Michigan is ranked 2 spots ahead of USC. How come the Trojan fans are all up in arms about the fact that, USC is ranked behind Michigan? You know what I mean? Like, again, multiple examples. Alabama and Florida State, to your point. There's you can analyze a team and use that as a data point. That is not the be-all, end-all.
Not the only data point. Right.
Right.
That's what, was the season over after the first week? I mean, you have other games that have to be evaluated. Again, just like with Florida State and Alabama, because if all you're doing is going off head-to-head, then Florida State should be in the college football playoff, even though they have a worse record than Alabama right now. Sometimes the worst team ends up winning, and then you go on. Like, is anyone going to argue that Alabama's not a better team right now than they were at the beginning of the season when they lost to Florida State? It's the same thing. It's just that Florida State obviously didn't hold up its end of the deal and have a better season. Everyone thought, well, maybe Florida State's back, but it took not long to figure that out. But Alabama's still a pretty good team in spite of the fact that they lost to Florida State at the beginning of the season. Notre Dame is a very good team in spite of the fact that they happened to lose to Miami at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and guess what? Miami was ranked ahead of Notre Dame until they lost 2 games.
Yeah,
to opponents that they should not have lost to.
Once you start losing games, it changes things. It changes the whole. That's just the way it is.
Right.
Yeah. So in the chat, we got this in the mailbag, and we didn't get it in the mailbag portion of the show. But Casey, that's a winner, says, I don't know a lot about this new college football playoff system. Can you tell me something about it?
I mean, it's very similar to what it was last year. The only difference is you don't have to be a conference champion to get the bye. And it's just going to be a straight ranked situation all the way down pretty much to 10. And then the top 5 champions are all going to make the field wherever they happen to be ranked. And if they're not ranked in the top 12, they will replace whoever else needs to be replaced. So right now it's appearing as that the Big 10, the SEC, and the Big 12 will most likely have their champion as a top 12 team, and the ACC and whoever the group of 5 ends up being will replace 11 and 12. It's really that simple.
Yeah, the top 5 highest ranked conference champions are guaranteed a spot in the playoff. And yeah, then like you said, it's straight seeding, but the conference champions are guaranteed a spot, kind of what's dicey right now, and why, like, for example, we continue to see Miami show up in like in the playoff rankings, because they're the highest ranked ACC team right now. So they're a placeholder because they are also not in position right now to even make it to the ACC championship game, barring some things happening this weekend. Right now, they're currently tied for 4th place with Georgia Tech in the conference standings, but Georgia Tech has the tiebreaker right now. So
yeah, I mean, so many things have to happen, and the moons and the planets all need to be aligned for Miami to even make the championship of the ACC, and it's probably not going to happen. So they're going to have to get an at-large bid, which means they're going to have to be in the top 10. They're going to have to be ranked in the top 10 in order to make the playoff, period.
Right.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough sledding based on the teams that are ahead of them right now. Now, BYU has to play Texas Tech. I do not believe BYU can hold a candle to Texas Tech, so that's going to help Miami.
Not based on the first meeting between the two, but
exactly.
We'll find out.
But other than that, I don't see a whole lot of losses ahead of Miami right now, except for that one. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We know Notre Dame plays Stanford this Saturday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time here on Sports Radio WSBT. Here's what Stanford interim head coach Frank Reich had to say about Notre Dame this week.
No doubt. It's a challenge. It's exciting. This is a good football team. Like when I put the tape on yesterday, I was like, boom. I mean, this is a real deal. I mean, this to me looks like the best team we've played all year. In the film I've watched, they're really well coached. You can just see it. It jumps off the tape. They're very well coached. They're high level. There's really no weakness. For me, mostly looking at their defense right now. I'll get to the offense a little bit later today. But looking at them defensively, really good across the board. So it's going to be a good challenge for us. I mean, it's a great opportunity, for us coming off a big win, an emotional win, to be able to lock down against, one of the better teams in the country and, see how we stack up.
Okay, Vince, that from Frank Reich is blank.
It's really interesting because Stanford has played a lot of teams that think they should be ranked higher than Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. You got BYU in there. They won 27-3 over Stanford. You've got Miami in there. They won 42-7 over Stanford. You got Pitt in there. They won 35-20 over Stanford. But according to Frank Reich, who has a pretty decent track record in the NFL as well, Notre Dame's the best team they've played.
It is weird, isn't it?
Wild.
I know. I know. Because Stanford played Miami the week after the Hurricanes lost to Louisville, and a week before Miami lost to SMU. Stanford was sandwiched right there in the middle. And it seems like a third-party head coach who's seen some of these teams that are being compared to each other might actually have a little bit, might actually know a little bit about them. Have a pretty good opinion about them.
I like Frank Reich. I think he's a decent coach. I think he sounds like a decent human being. Obviously, we got a lot of Frank Reich when he was in Indianapolis, that kind of a thing.
Uh-huh.
Frank, I got a message for you, my guy. It's not personal. All right? It's not personal what Notre Dame's about to do to you on Saturday night. It's not personal, man. It just so happens you're the next faceless opponent, and Notre Dame's got to take care of business. And I'm sure you'll get a prolonged bro hug from Marcus Freeman at the end of the game because he actually respects the work that you do. It's not personal, man.
Get a little bit more than our buddy Nardo got. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just feels like a third-party coach who's out there grinding tape would have a pretty good idea of who the better team is, since he has to scout these teams and put together a game plan every week. Some would say he's got a better idea than a lot of these chuckers who are out there that can't come up with another storyline other than, the Miami screw job, basically. So Notre Dame's been the better team for more than 75% of the season. Frank Reich knows it. Fran Brown knows it. I would bet most of the other coaches, not named Pat Narduzzi, would say it out loud as well, if you asked him. And I think probably if you gave old Nardo some true serum, he might say it as well. So, but yeah, you're right. Not personal at all. But it could get ugly Saturday night.
It very well could, because look, it's not going to be lost on Notre Dame or Marcus Freeman that Miami score that they had against Stanford at 42-7. That'll be right here, right in the back of his head. You don't coach for that, but you know that it exists. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll be one of those kind of deals. Won't be a surprise.
But I mean, Notre Dame is just they're playing on another level right now. And it's like all these teams being compared against each other. It's like Notre Dame is just going out there like, I don't care. And I realize some people want to bring up Boston College. It's like Boston College was just kind of what Boston College is. Notre Dame was, they played their biggest rival. Then they had a bye week. They were coming back out of the bye on the road. That's a big rivalry game to Boston College. Some would say they're their biggest rival. And, things were just a little bit clunky for a while. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame won another game by double figures against Boston College. And then the next week, they stacked on top of that. They got, it's just Notre Dame's playing like the better team right now. It's just, you can't deny it.
And Stanford had their Super Bowl last week. was Cal Stanford.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. Like that was huge for them. They got their acts back and all that kind of
It
stuff.
was massive. Like that's their Super Bowl, especially with the way their season has gone. And they got
Did
an
you
interim
see any of
coach.
the video, by the way, of like the ceremony where they like it's like the students were holding it and they do like this very formal sort of ritualistic passing of the the rivalry trophy to the other team when Stanford beat Cal last week. It was interesting. Yeah.
I don't know that I would allow Stanford students to have an axe.
Yeah. And it was just like students doing this, passing it from one to another. And then this big Stanford offensive lineman like jumped in. He's like, give me my axe, like that. It's kind of how it looked. So,
okay.
Vince, we didn't do a Shamrock up, Shamrock down show this week because it kind of felt a little bit gratuitous after a 70-7 win.
Yeah.
Like how are you actually going to measure that? If you were given a, like biggest Shamrock up coming out of that game, who are you giving it to?
Chris Ash. How about that? Because I want to give it to the whole defense. And so I'll give it to Chris Ash on this one because I just think that he didn't really take his foot off the gas for the majority of the game until kind of late in the fourth quarter, kind of a deal. I wish he would have kept it on the gas a little longer, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I mean, that defense is playing lights out right now. It's what gives me the most confidence about Notre Dame in the playoff is their defense. Like I know they can score points, but I also think the defense is going to limit whatever offense Notre Dame ends up playing. So Chris Ash gets my Shamrock up.
Man, Randall McMurphy says that means this show gets a Shamrock down.
Whoa.
Is Randall McMurphy, by the way, like feels like he's got some history with the show, but I don't remember seeing that handle long ago. Like is he a new candidate for, possibly the artist formerly known as DK?
Oh, well, that's possible.
I don't know. I don't know where you were going with that.
I would say timeout. Like, no, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't know why we're going Shamrock down all of a sudden.
I know, man.
It's harsh.
Yeah. Okay, so you're giving it to Chris Ash, which I think a lot of people are in there. I'm going to go with Jalen Stroman. Like in terms of players, I've got to go Jalen Stroman. The guy basically had a season in the first 5 minutes of the game, the way he played with a pick six and then blocking the punt, that shoots up into the air and Talich takes back for the touchdown. And, then like, I think right in that whole sequence as well, he had that great open field tackle and he ended up being, leading the team with 8 tackles. So, I think you're right. Like Chris Ash, his Shamrock continues to climb, but Jalen Stroman, that's the biggest game that he has had. So I've got to, coming off the bench because of the fact that Tay Johnson didn't get to play with the hand injury and all that stuff. I got to give it to Stroman for this week.
You know what? I got no problem with that. You got the pick six, the block punt, a great tackle, like all in a row. Like you're right. He had a season in 5 minutes, like 5 minutes of real time too. Like it was so fast. But hey, there was a lot of defensive guys that I really, really like. I mean, there was a Drake Bowen series where he literally made the play on 3 straight plays for 3 and out. It just, like I said, lot to go around. But Jalen Stroman, hats off to him for doing what he did when he hasn't really gotten a lot of playing time this year. And that's probably not what he had on his bingo card coming to Notre Dame. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go off the beaten path a little bit, and I'll give Jared Dawson a Shamrock up as well. I thought that he played a really good game at the point of attack. Like Syracuse only averaged 2.2 yards per carry in that game. And, starts with the defensive line. Linebackers played great as well. But I think Jared Dawson, given an interior defensive lineman,
like that
Shamrock up. Got to go
Love
with
it.
that. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, more rapid fire Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It's Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Rapid fire. Sean Stires, Vince DeDario. Hope you're having a great day before Thanksgiving, or maybe you're listening Thanksgiving morning to the podcast, whatever it happens to be. But appreciate you either way. And don't forget, of course, you can watch this show on the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel as well as the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel. And you can always interact in the live chat in either one of those platforms. And also don't forget, of course, we've got Notre Dame, Stanford kicking off 10:30 this Saturday night right here on Sports Radio WSBT. And the game day show is from 6 until 9:30. You will get a dose, the last show of the regular season, of Tim, Jim, Eric, and Tyler. And their guests this week include Notre Dame great Jimmy Clausen, longtime former Notre Dame and NFL kicker John Carney, and consensus All-American linebacker Corey Minor. That is this Saturday, 6 to 9:30.
So, quick story about John Carney, if I may.
Okay.
We had him back when I used to do the game day show with those guys, and we had John Carney on. And he, first of all, he was a great interview, obviously. And then when we went to break, I talked to him briefly. I was like, "Hey, I've got my son is a young kicker. Like, what would you recommend or whatever?" He sent me like this whole pack of like workouts and like stuff to do in the weight room and like all these different things that I put into a 3-ring binder and I gave it to Dylan. And I mean, it was free of charge. He was just like, I want to promote it, blah blah blah. I want your kid to be good. So John Carney is a great guy. Like, he didn't know me from Adam, and he was super super helpful. So shout out to John Carney, man.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So Dylan had the kicking workout regimen of a long time. Like, he was around for at least 15 years, I think, in the NFL, wasn't he?
He kicked into his 40s,
Maybe longer
I think.
than that. Yeah.
So he was around for a long time. So yeah, John Carney, man, he's still in great shape too. So, I appreciate John. That was really cool, and that was back when he was like middle school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was really neat, really cool.
Mr. 2.0 asks, who runs the faster 40 time, assuming they both go to the combine, Love or Price?
I'm pretty sure Love is faster than Price. Now, Price is deceiving, I think, with his speed, but I feel like Love is bigger. I feel like Love is faster. I mean, I don't have any details on that, but I would put my money on Love.
I think I would too, like slightly. I mean, they're both very fast, but I would go Love. Be curious to see, combine times. We'll have to keep track of that.
Probably be there together.
Find out.
We'll see.
ND Forever 72 wants to know confidence level. The doomsday scenario does not play out on this college football playoff deal, and the Irish are on the outside looking in. So I think we're talking about doomsday scenarios with like BYU knocks off Texas Tech, Alabama runs the table and gets into wins the SEC, gets into the SEC championship game, wins the SEC championship game, and then the other would obviously be like Miami winning this weekend and all these other dominoes falling that somehow allows dominoes. Them. Yeah. What's your confidence level that doesn't happen, the doomsday scenario?
Well, let's do it. Let's do it out of 10.
1 to 10.
Yep.
Confidence it does not happen.
Like a 9.5, a 9.5. I think there's still an outside chance, but I'm not even convinced. Let's say BYU does beat, Texas Tech, for example, which I do not think will happen. But let's say it does happen. I'm not convinced Texas Tech is still in it.
Really? You think they'd get bounced that far?
Let me rephrase. I'm not sure they would be in front of Notre Dame. They could fall behind Notre Dame.
They could.
Because who have they beaten?
Basically, these are going to be like most of the conference championship games are for seeding, and like what you have. I mean, that'll be a good question because at that point they're going to have they would have 2 losses.
And that happens. And look at their resume. Like, who have they beaten per se? You know what I mean? Like, so I think if they lost, I think there's a conversation that they'd still be in because the committee has made it very clear that championship week is not necessarily going to drop people out. Right. But if BYU is not in and they win, well, now they're in. So somebody's going to have to drop out. Now, I'm not saying it's Texas Tech, but I'm saying somebody drops out. I'm just saying, I think there's a discussion that Notre Dame could potentially be higher than Texas Tech at that point.
No, that's true. I think that in that case, they could be higher than Texas Tech, but would BYU vault ahead of Notre Dame? Like, would they take Texas Tech's place?
And they very well could do that, but that doesn't mean Notre Dame drops.
But that's still not going to push Notre Dame far enough. Exactly. I think you're right. I think that like one probably takes the other's place, and they're not both going to be
right
in the top. That would be basically 7. I don't think they're both going to be in the top 7. I think that in that case, I think you're right that Texas Tech and BYU probably just swap places.
I could see that.
Or maybe even like Texas Tech falls to 10.
Sure.
Like in that case. Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I still don't think all of the things are going to happen where Notre Dame falls out.
I just think that there are too many things
right
that have to happen for it to happen. So my confidence is 9 that the doomsday scenario does not happen.
Right.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that Jeremiah Love had more net rushing yards against Pittsburgh than Louisville, Boston College, Stanford, and Syracuse combined against Pitt this season.
I think I've used this fill in the blank before, but I'm going to use it again. Heisman-esque. Just is. Like, Pitt was supposed to be one of the top rushing defenses in the country, and he demolished them. I mean, he single-handedly demolished them, obviously with help of his teammates. But yeah, I mean, he did better than all of those teams. It's Heisman-esque, man.
That's exactly right. We talked a lot about Jeremiah Love yesterday, and I brought this up, and I just thought it was worth mentioning again because the people who want to dump on him, for like, well, who are you doing this against and all that kind of stuff. Pitt had the number 3 rush defense in the nation going into that game. They are currently the number 10 rush defense in the nation. They are still only giving up on average 90 yards per game. Jeremiah Love had 147 yards against them, 23 carries, 147 yards. He averaged 6.4 yards per carry against Pitt. And those 4 teams I mentioned, Louisville, which is a decent rushing offense, by the way, Louisville averages about 154 rush yards per game. But Louisville, Syracuse, BC, and Stanford combined for 146 yards on 115 carries in those 4 teams. 115 carries, 146 yards. That's 1.2 yards per carry. Love by himself, 23 carries for 147 yards, 6.4 per carry. Again, like, feels significant since what Love did came against one of the top run defenses in the nation. 6.4 yards per crack. Those 4 teams combined to average 1.2 per carry. See, feels pretty significant to me.
It's extremely significant, yes.
Jack says, thanks to Sean and Vince for doing this great show on Thanksgiving Eve. We appreciate you all very much. Thank you very much, Jack. Appreciate you saying you appreciate.
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
We still haven't come up with a better name, though, than Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it might have to do with something about going out to the bars, since it is the busiest bar weekend.
Bar night.
Something along those lines. I'm terrible at coming up with like interesting names and things, but something along those lines, right? But I agree, there should be a day because, a lot of schools are out, some businesses are out. Like, this is the start of the holiday for me. You know what I mean? Like, I had this date circled, on the calendar.
I was honestly, it was like one of those trying to get motivated for today, like Jesse's here, so the holiday is kind of started and all that kind of stuff. And, it's like everyone else is out doing their traveling and getting ready and kind of buying the last minute stuff. So good stuff, though. Joe asked earlier, and we didn't get to this in the first hour, Tommy Rees is the rumored favorite for the UCLA job. Do you think he would be a good fit? What do you think about that? There's like all this continued talk going on about Tommy Rees and UCLA.
Look, I think Tommy Rees is made for college. Personally, I think that he's a good recruiter. When he had the reins taken off of him by Brian Kelly, and was able to recruit the guys that he actually wanted.
Yeah.
He had some pretty successful quarterbacks commit to him. You know what I mean? So I like Tommy Rees. I think that he could do a good job. You're only as good as the staff that you put together. So, what guys are willing to come work with a very young, because he's still young in terms of being a head coach. Like, what guys are going to be willing to come work with Tommy Rees. I think that would be the biggest thing. But
he would have to assemble a staff,
yes,
basically of guys, a lot of guys he's probably either only worked with maybe for a year or
right.
not even worked with, based just on
tough.
contacts, basically.
Yeah. It would be tough. And UCLA, I don't know what the expectations are. At UCLA right now, they haven't been good for quite a while. You know what I mean? So maybe
Don't know
this
what
is
the resources are either. I think that's a big issue.
Yeah,
out there.
very good point. So, like, what are the expectations? You know what I mean? I think that's part of it as well. Can he kind of go and grow? And it's not going to be an overnight thing. So, what does that look? I think it could be a decent job for him. I hate to say this because they're a Big Ten school, but I mean, this is a mid-tier at best Big Ten school.
Yeah,
it's not a bad first gig.
I mean, it's a program that's had sporadic success over the years, but because of the fact that it is in the Big Ten now, and just all the things that they're kind of up against, like, I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised. Like, I guess I could see kind of UCLA's interest in him, but just like the directions that he's gone, leaving Notre Dame to go to Alabama. Obviously, Nick Saban retires, so that changes things very quickly. And then he jumps to the NFL. And the things that we had heard about him when he was here is like the NFL seemed like more of what he wanted to do in his future. So
very true.
I don't know. It would be kind of another left turn, it feels like, if he were to go out to UCLA and back to college. And again, like, UCLA has cycled through some guys in a pretty short amount of time, and with them being in the Big Ten, I don't know that I don't know. Maybe he likes that challenge, but feels like it would be an uphill climb for him to leave the NFL to go to a place like UCLA.
Yeah, I mean, he's still only 33 years old, so there's a lot of.
Is he really? Is
yeah.
that how the older he is?
Yeah, a lot of tread still on that tire, man.
Wow. That's not that much older than Jesse. That is crazy.
There you go, man.
All right, we'll take our last time out and then back to wrap things up. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat, IrishBreakdown.com, and Rapid Fire. Winding down Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Rapid fire, hour number 2. Notre Dame men's basketball lost to Houston 66-56 earlier today in their final game in Las Vegas. Marcus Burton, 19 points to lead the Irish. Jalen Harrelson had 14 points. They lost by 10, and that was after Houston closed the game, hitting just one of its final 11 shots. They had no field goals over the last nearly 6 minutes of the game.
Oof.
Man.
I mean, that was a competitive game in the second half. I mean,
they got down by 20. They got as close as 4, and then they didn't get any closer than that.
Yep.
Great effort in the comeback against a good Houston team. Okay. Thanks. Did you have something to say?
I do. So
okay,
before we went to break, we were talking about Tommy Rees, and we were talking about how he's only 33 years old, right? A little trivia question for you. Who's older, Tommy Rees or Charlie Weiss Jr.?
Wow. That's a great one. I'll say Rees. It's probably going to be Charlie Weiss Jr.
You would be correct that it is Rees.
Okay.
But only by 11 months.
Really?
Yes.
Holy cow.
So maybe, you take all the former Notre Dame guys out to the West Coast. You could have one high-flying offense then.
Man, that's crazy.
So I had to look it up because I was like, well, how long has it been, since Charlie Weiss Jr. was, the little guy on the sidelines of Notre Dame football with his headset on, everybody was all mad about. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been around the block for a little while, kind of riding the coattails of Lane Kiffin and, the whole deal. But hey, man, maybe he's ready to strike out on his own, be his own man.
I'm kind of wondering about that. Like if Kiffin takes off, does Charlie Jr., does he get his first head coaching job maybe?
He could get a lower level job, I would think. Yeah. He's got quite the resume. He's worked at Alabama. He's worked at Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. He's done all these things. He's the OC at Florida Atlantic. He's been around the block. I bet you he could get one of these group of 6 head coaching jobs that could come open if that's what he wants to do.
I like how Penn State sports talk guy is in here talking trash about.
Seriously. Did you guys overlook every Power 4 team you've played since January?
You overlook UCLA? I mean,
right. I mean, come on, man.
Happy Thanksgiving.
This isn't the year. This isn't the year, man.
Good to have you back. All right, real quick. Your favorite Thanksgiving protein?
This is going to sound weird, and I don't care. Ham. I like ham. I'm not a turkey.
Me too.
Guy.
Me too. I thought it might be a controversial take. We do both, and ham is actually my favorite of the two because of this. Like I do turkey with the stuffing and the gravy and, like the first plate. But after that, I like the ham sandwiches afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. A little leftover action.
Side dish.
Side dish would either be a cheesy potato or a corn. Like those would be my 2 favorites. Probably.
Stuffing is mine. I'm like big on the stuffing.
People get it wrong though. That's the problem. Like
that's true.
It can't be too dry.
That's true. But my thing to do that I've started doing, I've got the little waffle maker, and I do stuffing waffles, and then I make sandwiches out of the little stuffing waffles. That's my go-to.
Fascinating.
Yes. Should try it. I actually just went and bought a new waffle maker today because the old one hadn't, I only use it on Thanksgiving, basically. The old one stopped working.
Pooped out on you, huh?
Yeah. Dessert. Favorite Thanksgiving dessert?
I'll be honest with you. I mean, the roll-ups that you talk about sound amazing, but I haven't actually eaten one. I'm easy. I'm a pumpkin pie guy. I love pumpkin pie.
I do like a good pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving as well. I would say pumpkin rolls, pumpkin pie right after. Pecan pie, I think, is underrated as well. My wife's a big pecan pie person.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. I don't think we're going to have time for any of the other stuff that I was going to do. Maybe we can do some Friday for you. Happy Thanksgiving, Penn State Sports Talk. Thanks for showing up now and then, being a good sport. I feel like he's one. He's not a big time troll. Let's put it that way. He shows up. He has a little fun. He doesn't go overboard with this stuff. So
I appreciate that.
Always good to have it. All right, Vince, you and yours have a great Thanksgiving.
You do the same, sir.
Everybody else, have a great Thanksgiving. We will be back on Friday, so there's a show to look forward to on Friday. We've got that with Notre Dame and Stanford coming up this weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving. Safe travels if you're out there, and we will talk to you Friday. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.